Greetings. Hey, thanks for joining us here on another great episode of the Do Business Better podcast. It's me, your host, Damian Mason, but you already knew that. You heard that in the introduction. I'm sitting here with two great people who are going to give you lessons about business, small business, starting a business after being an employee and working together in small business as a family. I'm sitting with Kyle Stoffel. He is the owner and president of Underwriters Alliance of Indiana, and his daughter, Este. She's been with the company for 5 years. You know, a lot of small businesses have this issue of, do you employ your family? Do you not employ your family? Do you do business with your family? We've always heard advice about that. We're going to get some of that today. We're also talking about the whole mindset of going from being an employee to being an employer, and also the steps along the road to become a successful business. You know, it's not all roses and golden brick roads and all that kind of stuff, as you know if you've been listening to this podcast. So once again, I remind you that the Do Business Better podcast, and I'm saying once again because if you listened to the last episode, you know this is not just an audio where you get your audios from. If you listen to podcasts on Stitcher, iTunes, SoundCloud, that's fantastic. Please hit subscribe. But I also would encourage you to go on YouTube to the Damian Mason channel. That's right. Just go on YouTube and type in Damian Mason and hit subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything. You'll get great episodes like this. You can also check out my other commentary, my Business of Agriculture podcast, and other fun stuff. If you're really bored, you can even go and find some of my old Bill Clinton footage, for crying out
Which
loud.
is fabulous, by the way.
All right, so we're talking to Kyle Stoffel. You're the owner of Underwriters Alliance of Indiana. What do you do?
Well, what our company does is we assist people that have an idea that they might want to be in business for themselves. So we take insurance agents that usually have some experience. They might be working for somebody else. And then we help them start their own insurance agency.
Okay, so I'm a aspiring young person. I got my job working for an insurance agency, and I'm saying that maybe I could do this on my own, and I want to do that. And I say, how do I go about doing that? And you make that happen.
Yep, we go through a bunch of different steps to do that. Part of the problem in our industry has always been that an insurance company or somebody that you want to sell for might not have as much of an interest in appointing you out of a startup agency, and we kind of take care of that hurdle. So we manage that relationship with the insurance companies. So we're in the distribution business more than the insurance business. Mm-hmm. We help them distribute their products to the agents that do want to start their own agencies or smaller agencies.
You alleviate a certain amount of risk for a larger company.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the companies you work with on the big side that you're distributing their stuff for are?
That'd be Travelers, Liberty, Safeco, Grange, State Auto, Nationwide, all the big names
that we see on TV commercials.
Yep.
Okay. And then the people that you work for, that you help get going, then how do you make money off of them?
Well, we're in a position where, and it's a little bit different, where because of that startup, we might take a little small piece of the commission, which is still more than they're capable of gaining on their own, because we've got relationships with carriers. We control about $8 billion worth of premium, which is bigger than a lot of insurance companies. And that's across the United States. We have 6,000 members. It's 5,000, I think now, isn't it, Este? But it's 5,000 members across the country. We just have our own area, which is Indiana, northern part of Indiana, northern 2/3 of Indiana.
But you do $8 billion worth of premium in that area.
Yes.
Okay. And so you make money by helping these other companies then get going, but also then you're assisting them on a selling the insurance product to somebody like me.
Yep. Okay. Yep.
All right. So, Este, your role here, and then I want to go back to how this whole thing started.
All right.
Your role.
I am a marketing specialist and recruiter here at UAII.
Explain what that means, because remember, it's one thing to give a title. What do you do that adds value?
So I'm basically a bird dog. I go out and I knock on the doors of these insurance agencies and figure out whether or not we might be a fit to either help them start their own independent agency or possibly just enhance the one that they already own and have built.
Okay, so you're going to an insurance agency and saying, hey, you're XYZ insurance agency here in this small town in the Midwest, and we can help you because we can do what?
We can create extra bonus dollars just because of our size and clout. We can assist with programs, market access, just like a ton of different things. Some extra training.
This is the kind of stuff that they aren't doing right now because they don't quite have enough market size?
Yeah. So some carriers want a certain amount of volume requirement.
I see.
Yep. So it's harder to get appointed with some carriers until you have that volume. But how are you supposed to gain the volume without the appointment? We help. We're kind of the middleman.
insurance is generally kind of something that most entrepreneurs, small biz people look at as a necessary evil. You got to have it so you don't lose your shorts. You got to do it because if your tractor bounces off the trailer for your landscaping company and kills somebody on the interstate, whatever. You are in an insurance business, but you're also entrepreneurial. So as a person like me, I look at insurance as, oh my God, yes, it's something I have to spend $12,000 a year on, or $50,000 or whatever that number should be. But you're kind of entrepreneurial. Tell me about the difference. So you look at insurance as differently than I look at it.
Yeah, I think, I started out as an insurance agent, and then through that, I had more of maybe a business mind than just an insurance sales guy. So I was always looking at what's the opportunity look like, what can we do different, what opportunities are there out there that can enhance. So the insurance business just happened to be what I knew, so therefore I thought a lot about it and understood then what the business side of that looked like.
People always like the whole how does this thing come together story. So you are 61 years old, 2 years old, right?
Yep.
All right, so give it to me from the background.
So I started.
You're 18 years old. You probably had a job in high school doing something.
Yep,
Give me a little entrepreneur, small biz ownership mindset. Go back to your teenage years.
All right. My dad was he was a painting contractor and then owned a decorating store, and so we sat through that. But we sat through that through the Jimmy Carter days when the inflation hit, the world kind of ended, and business took a hit. So had a brother in the business too. My dad was talking to his insurance agent, and the insurance agent said, "Hey, if Kyle's looking for something different to do, I think he can sell." So that's how I got in the life insurance business at 21, and didn't know anything about it, didn't care to know anything about it, but I did it. It was a start, and then through that, saw a lot of different opportunities from a business standpoint of what that could look like.
All right, so the guy said, it looks like you understand how to work because you've been working in the family business, and then you also said, yeah, I can sell. So there you are, you're 21. They probably taught you a rudimentary amount about insurance. Hey, here's what this is. This is a slip and fall, or this is a liability, this is a whatever, and then you went out and just started making phone calls.
So it started in the life insurance business, which if you're gonna sell anything, that's probably the worst one you can sell, because most of the time people say no, thank you.
Right. Yeah. It's worse than encyclopedia sales.
Yep,
right?
It was. Yeah.
Okay, so you're a life insurance salesperson. Then what? Well,
I went from that to because of the contacts. Again, as a young guy that likes to sell, you're unaffordable. In kind of in a way, you're hireable. Well, I'll just use that term. So people are out there trying to talk you into doing things. So I worked for a managing general agency that sold Blue Cross Blue Shield insurance to agents. So, and that'll set up this whole story as things go along.
Okay, so you went from that, and then you're in the thing of saying we're selling insurance stuff to insurance people. Most people don't understand that. Real quick, what's that mean?
Yeah, so again, an insurance agency might not have access to certain insurance companies, and we did have access to those companies. So we sat in the middle. It's in a way, insurance has always been a little bit of a pyramid. There's hierarchy on how you get paid.
Are you allowed to say that your own business is a pyramid? I mean, usually I'm thinking Bernie Madoff here.
Yeah, that's a pyramid scheme. Okay. This is just a hierarchy of pay. How's that?
Okay. So it's not a scheme.
It's a tier.
It's not
tiering.
It's not a criminal scheme. Okay. All right. So you did that, and then tell me about the big break when you said I'm going to be Kyle Stoffel is going to be his own business person.
Well, I went to work for a little bigger property and casualty agency in Marion, Indiana, and from there became sales manager. And then you just become a partner in an agency. It's like a law firm, right? You don't really say, hey, I'm going to start a business. It's just that because you're building a business inside their business, you become a partner.
Right.
So that's how that worked. And then from there, what happened is that I was asking the insurance business side of things, like why do you do it this way? And they said, well, because the insurance companies don't want you to sit in the middle of us on. And at the same time I was having that conversation, we got a call from someone at a company called SIAA, Strategic Independent Agents Alliance, and said, would you have an interest in going out and calling on agencies? And here's what this looks like. And well, I had that interest because I've already done it.
Yep.
So we explored it. did it, and I ended up the majority owner of that new company. So this was probably about 10 years ago.
And that's what this is now.
Yeah.
All right. So you started this new thing about 10 years ago, or essentially it was sort of a melding of what you were already doing. And then how was it with the other situation? Did you walk from that? Are you still an owner of that?
Yeah, no.
Did you merge the two?
Yeah, at that particular time, because there were partners in both agencies, it made sense for me to sell my interest in the other company. I did that about 5 years ago and focused solely on Underwriters Alliance of Indiana.
Got it. All right. So then you said, I've started this new thing and it's taking off and I'm all in. Then you said, I got to bring in some employees. You brought in your kids, brought in your friends. Give it to me from your perspective. All right.
So I remember having a conversation with my dad. I was probably a junior in college. And I'm like, I don't really know what I want to do when I'm done. Mm-hmm. And it had never occurred to me that I might try this out. That was never something that had even crossed my mind.
You didn't want to be in the family biz, right?
Yeah, I was a marketing major. And I'm like, I don't really want to sell insurance. At that point, that's what I thought it was. And so he said, well, how about, let's just see how the next year goes, see how your classes go your senior year, what you're interested in. So I graduated and he's like, let's give it a year. Let's just see how it works. If it doesn't work for me, if it doesn't work for you, we'll have that conversation in a year. And I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed going out and talking to people, learning about their businesses, their situation, how we might be able to help. So it's been good so far.
All right, so talk about, this is the more important part here, Kyle, and we'll talk about working with family a little bit later on, but the thing here that we got to talk about, because the people that listen to this, they might own 4 burger franchises, they might have a dry cleaners, they might be self-employed, they might be gig workers, they might just be dreaming of the day they can. I tell everybody, there's a lot of struggles that go along with this. There's some sleepless nights. There's getting all the ducks in a row. You were a money guy. You were a business guy. But starting off on your own, which was a bit of, it was a bit of a transition. It was more of a merging off ramp than it was like me. I quit corporate America and was like, son of a bitch, here I am. I got to go and I got to pound $1 out of this coconut and see how it works. Because you were 50 years old, late 40s, early 50 years old. What was the first thing that struck you that you didn't quite think you were going to get into?
Yeah, I think part of that is the the risk of owning your own business, because you sit around and you think things look good. You might even look at a balance sheet and a P&L statement and go, man, that looks good, but you don't really know what's hiding in there. And so it's things that you uncover as you go along. And luckily, I was good with numbers, so for me that was an easy lesson to learn. But we know a lot of people that bought something or started something with no idea what the numbers were going to look like.
Well, you were raised by people that had their own business, so that's always a bit more eye-opening. The person that I use the example in my book, which, by the way, dear listener and viewer, if you haven't, you're saying, wait a minute, when's he going to plug the book? Do Business Better, my book, which is specifically written for entrepreneurs, small business, self-employed, gig workers, folks that aspire to own their own business. We talk about it, and so it was one of my questions, because Kyle was nervous, and he said, hey, man, I'm not like a showbiz person. You're going to have to give me some questions at a time. So one of my stock questions, if you were a small biz person, in my book, I talked about an entrepreneur class was being taught by a woman who was a school teacher, career school teacher, who was raised by 2 school teachers. No offense, but she probably doesn't know a lot about being an entrepreneur, because they were government employees that did not own their own small business. You worked growing up for your dad that had a small biz. You were around it. But there's still a few things when it's your ass on the line, when it's you that says, I got this, how much debt again? And what's my revenue look like next month? My revenue picture is nowhere close to my expenditure picture. Son of a bitch. That didn't bother you, or it did bother you?
Yeah, I think it bothered me probably quite a bit. I don't know how it wouldn't. And so therefore kind of really spent a lot of time trying to figure out, what's this mean? What are we going to do about that? Because I don't like being bothered by that. So deep dive into the numbers. If you're going to start a business, we do this with agents now. Our biggest start on that is a deep dive into the numbers. What can you do?
Say, what's your revenue picture? What's your expenditure?
What's your home? What's your home balance sheet look like? What's your P&L statement from your personal budget look like? Because you're going to be tapping into that.
Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. You mean that when people like to say, well, that's just your business, that's not your home, it's like, well, for a bunch of us out here, It's all in.
Oh, it's
I've never at once had somebody give me a loan and say, well, this is just on the business side of Damian Mason. Personally, you're fine because it's all seems to be, I'm all in. I'm all in all the time. I find it funny when people are like, oh, if I do this, I'm going to be all in. I'm like, I've kind of been there for 27 years.
Let me know how you can do it without being all in.
All right. Risk tolerance, you talked about, that's one of your things. So I always say the 4 traits. In my book, I talk about 4 traits. Risk tolerance, drive, resilience, vision. I think you need all 4 of them, at least in a certain capacity, to be successful piloting your own ship. Which one is your strength?
Yeah, I think that the vision part of it is because it's based on, I look at numbers like it's a roadmap, and so the vision of the business might be, this is what you're going to sell. Well, you got to analyze what the hell does that mean? What are we going to have to hire? What are our expenditures going to be on that? So the vision of what we were going to do, I think, is a lot more math related than people think.
Yeah.
And so that one is the most important to me. It's also my strength.
Yeah, well, vision is, and I think it's about looking at the numbers, but it's also about what you got to build to get those numbers. So it's sort of, they walk down the same aisle hand in hand. All right, Este, you're only a young woman that's been in this racket for 5 years. So you're 27 or 8 years old, right?
Mm-hmm. That's correct.
All right. Those 4 things I just said, and I know you haven't read my book, but you're going to. Your old man has, but you have not. Risk tolerance, drive. That's your ambition. Resilience. That's your get off the carpet after you've been knocked on your ass factor. Vision. That's looking out where things are going to be the next 5 to 10 to 50 years. Which one of those is one that you think is your strength?
I'd have to say the drive to succeed. I played college volleyball, so I always kind of had something that really made me want to win.
Right.
And so a lot of it is, and then, the resilience part, that's not probably one of my strengths. In the sales world, you have to get up after they say no, not interested,
right,
and move on. So I'm working through that one, but I would definitely say that the drive to make them see, what we do as a business is huge for me.
Yeah. Now, I'd say that personally, my wife would say when she met me, it was probably drive and ambition. But now I'm in my 50s. I'm not quite as ambitious as I used to be because I've been working since I was 8. So I'd say it's resilience. I just refuse to go away. That's, I was in show business, which is a very, very difficult business, and almost nobody makes it. And comedy, everybody tries open mic, not people that want to do it. And I said, I'm not going away. I'm not, I know I'm funny, and by God, I'm going to make this work. And so I just kept hammering on it. So I'd say mine is more the resilience factor. All right, talking about other things. We'll keep it on Este for the fun of it. Okay. Also, in my book, I talk about the 5 Ps of managing your business personality. There's the 4 Ps of marketing and all that. I come with the 5 Ps of your business personality. I think they are product. Are you a product person? Are you a people person? Are you a process person? Are you a promotion person or a profit person? Your money mind, your marketing savvy, your process how stuff gets done, which is boring as shit to me. You're managing people, which I'm not good at because I tend to not have, as my wife says, you tend to not have good bedside manner, not good kid gloves. And then there's the product side, that people that just boil down on, well, here's the insurance product that's amazing. Which one of those 5 Ps do you think is you? I know which one I think it is.
I'd have to go, well, that was the 4th one that you mentioned, the marketing side of it. But yeah, the promotion part. That's just kind of my passion. I'd love to.
You're pretty good with people too. So I'd say you're probably more tolerant of people than me. And so you're probably okay with that. So you'd say promotion and people. Yeah. I'd say people, you'd say promotion. Kyle, product, process, promotion, people, profitability. Which thing?
Yeah, profitability is probably my.
You like the numbers? Talk about the numbers.
It's just because it drives everything below you. Yeah. Processes, we hire people that are really good at that, and if you went around here, we'd probably have those 5 covered. Yep. Which we're fortunate enough that we can afford to do that. If you're just starting a business, that maybe you want to know how to do all 5 Ps. but
nobody can. Nobody can. They told me starting out when I was an aspiring comedian some 27 or so years ago. I went to lunch with a guy that had enough success. He was professional. He was full time. He wasn't Seinfeld, but almost nobody is, right? And he said, are you a great writer or are you a great presenter? I said, well, he says, there's people that are really good writers of comedy and really good deliverers of comedy. Nobody's both. And I said, oh. And it dawned on me that I was an average writer and probably just a little above average presenter, but one definitely better than the other. Sense of timing. So it became very evident to me that I need help with writing because I used to have to write material every week as a political comedian, so I sought help on the weakness. And with your company here, you've got somebody that is all about the process, and you don't give two hoots in hell. You'd rather sell and look at the numbers.
Yep.
Somehow I knew that about you.
Yep. So that's it. And luckily you can find good people to do that. And I shouldn't say you can. I have. Yep. So we've got really good processors.
Do you think there's anything else that I missed when I say those 4 traits about, and also talking about personality? So I've talked about everything from risk tolerance to vision to resilience to work ethic, then to the personality traits of I really love to engineers, process. Salesperson, promotion. Accountant should be profitability. There's all those things. Is there anything I'm missing that matters to be successful?
Yeah, I think it's an ability to kind of look at things without emotion or understanding what your emotions are. I like to, we use this term a lot, that I can look at math and take the emotion out of it. You can't find many people that can do that. So if you and I are doing a business deal, you're going to have emotion in the numbers. And I definitely don't have emotion in the numbers. I just know that they're more factual. I know what it takes to get it done. And so we try to make sure that the other people we're dealing with understand that. And so if you're going to really be successful at business, you got to be able to take the emotion out of it. You can't look at somebody and go, I don't want to do business with that guy, and you got to check, why don't I want to do business with that guy?
Although eventually it is my objective to not do business with certain people
definitely. But I want to look at that from a logical standpoint rather than an emotional standpoint.
Yeah, right. I think that's the best. You're the first person I've had on in 120 episodes that talked about taking the emotion out, and because it's very hard for people.
It is. It is.
You're the one that started it.
Yep.
And you're related to so-and-so, and then that's hard. Anything, Este, that I missed, in your 5 years, you always got to look at the next generation coming up and saying, what did I miss? Well, I just talked about a bunch of things there, their traits and whatnot. Is there anything I missed? What do you see people when you're dealing with small businesses that seem successful, that they do well? What's their thing? Not the activity, the thing, the trait or the personality.
Well, especially in the insurance business, they're mostly just good relationship makers. So they can go out and build a relationship with the business owner or, the high value homeowner, or even, just a guy that owns his own mom and pop shop. They're really good at making them feel like they're the only ones that they're talking to at that point. And they make them feel like they care. And a lot of them do. They are emotionally invested in their business as well. They want them to succeed. So I think that that's what I've seen out of the guys that really do succeed. They care, and they have drive.
Actually genuinely want to make sure that they're insured, it doesn't flop.
Exactly.
Imagine that. That'd be novel. All right. So speaking of relationships, I promised the listeners and the viewers that we're going to talk about working with your friends and your relatives. You're doing that a lot. There's the people that you shouldn't hire your family, but small businesses are usually family businesses. And then there's always that thing of bringing in the daughter, bringing in the son. You've done it. You've got a daughter-in-law in here, and you've got a daughter in here, and you got your friend, and you got your friend's kid in here. So what's that like?
Yeah, I think the good news there is that we've got to know them before the hire. So before this just took place, these weren't automatics. There weren't anything in there that was promised to anybody. It was, I saw the traits, I saw the abilities that they had long before they became employees. So same with Este, same with Julie. They have the skill set, they have the ability to look at it, and they also care. So I was lucky from that standpoint that I got to understand that before it was a business.
You hearing that, dear listener? What he just said was know the person's personality and tendencies and work ethic and weaknesses and strengths long before you plug them into a position. That way, the position you plug them into capitalizes on that.
Yeah, and it's less chance of failure. Yeah.
Speaking of managing the family, and we'll talk about failure here in a little bit too. What's it like working for your old man?
Well, I'm a little afraid to say anything but great at this point, but
it's important. It's probably important to lay out. Here's the parameter. Here's the expectation.
Right.
Here's the expectation.
Yeah, he was really good about saying, "Hey, we're going to give it that year." Like I said before, we're going to give it a year.
Probationary period.
Yep. If it doesn't work for you or it doesn't work for us, we're going to have that conversation. So nothing's set in stone. I mean, this isn't like you're hired in, and if you suck.
Yeah.
You get to stay. That wasn't it.
So I got it. So the main thing is, and then there was expectations. I mean, that's probably the clearest thing. I rent my land to my farm guy, and we wouldn't have to have a contract probably. And I said we do this for a couple of reasons, so that when I get busy and at the end of the year, I remember what you said you would do, and you remember what the hell I said I would do, and that way. It's a piece of paper. Let's face it. We've all been in contractual arrangements that then you had to sue over the situation. I said, but maybe the most important thing is that we both know what we agreed to, and the expectation is this. Maybe that's it.
Yeah, I would agree with that. We might be closer than a lot of families out there too. So we have dinner with each other, I don't know, 3 times a week. And so through most of those dinners, I know my mom and my husband, they joke about it. They're like, there will be no business during drinking hours.
Yeah, I like that.
But we can't help it. So we're constantly like evaluating the situation. You know, what can I do better? What can he do better? All of that kind of thing.
Kyle, where have you steered your ship wrong?
Yeah, I think probably when I started, the confidence level wasn't really there. So because of that, maybe didn't take as many risks as I should have taken. I think we watch that. We talk about that in the insurance business. If you decide to go out and start your own agency, it's never too late. But boy, if you can do that 10 years sooner, you got a 10-year jump on your retirement. And so if you're sold on yourself, take the risk. If you're not, then you might want to work for somebody else, fill it out, and then sooner or later make the plunge or decide not to.
So you say that you think a misstep for you was not starting soon, not going full bore on your own soon enough.
Correct.
I like that. All right, which brings me to Este. She's in her 20s, late 20s. Do you think you should be on your own?
No.
Are you afraid of being a small business owner?
I'm not afraid of it. But I would be very weary of doing something on my own without someone else's guidance that I trusted.
So if you right now think that, okay, you're smart enough to know you've only got 5 years of professional work experience. I mean, really?
Yeah.
Right. So in 5 years from now, do you think your tune changes?
I think I'm closer to my tune changing. I don't know if you ever get to the point where you're like, hey, I'm there. Like, I know it all. I've learned it all. I'm ready to do it. But like he said, at some point you have to pull the trigger.
As I tell people when they always tell me about their idea, and if you're a listener, dear listener, you've heard this. When people say, I've got this great idea, I say, that's cool. I said, that's fine. I'm excited for you. I like your idea. And I say, can you go a year without making any income? And they say, but my idea. And I said, can you go a year without making any income? And can you go a year with not only not making the income, you're going to be, again, all in. Every nickel you have is going to be in there. And that's the question. And it's not being mean. I love people's ideas. I'm a creative person. Hell, I was in comedy and I write stuff. So what do you tell people that are budding aspirational small biz people?
Yeah, we talk a little bit more about 2 years maybe without any income. So yeah, because in our business it's more of a steadiness. The people that I've seen succeed, it's simply because they've stuck to it. And so it's patience. Patience is another one of the P's in business that you kind of have to take a look at. You need to force it. But you still need to be patient on the results.
My wife says I'm the most impatient person she knows, but about things that I am invested in, I can be very patient. Not patient at all because I want there to be results tomorrow. You've seen me golf. I've been golfing for less than a year, and I
would have to agree that you're very impatient.
I'm very impatient.
You are where you should be golfing. Yes,
I might be ahead of where I should be.
Yes, you are. Yes.
But I look at things where I'm like, okay, but this is still building. This has still got some build to it. You go through enough of those things that you get through that. All right, Este, what have you observed in your 5 years that you think is a good entrepreneurial habit that your old man has? Something he does really well that you think might be the reason. And I'm not talking about traits anymore. I'm talking about an activity, an action, a step, something that he does like on a daily basis. And you're like, by God, that is helping keep this business go.
He looks at the numbers daily. I'm not kidding. We joke about this. Yeah. But he is the numbers guy. And I've never seen anybody that can analyze or look at them and totally make sense of them quicker and logically.
All right. So are you going to become more of a numbers person because of that?
Oh, yeah. We're working on it.
All right. Because you understand you've got to.
Oh, yeah.
All right. I said missteps. What do you think you got right?
Yeah, I think that was part of what I got right is being able to analyze a situation and see
Money.
What are we throwing the money at? And we used to talk about ideas constantly. Well, who's going to run the idea? Who's going to actually perform? Who's going to go sell it? Who's going to do what? So those were the things that we always looked at. And when we talk about math, that is math to me. Those are all numbers. It's still numbers. It's not, there's nothing that you can analyze and say there's numbers at that, but it is numbers. It's who's going to do that? What are we going to have to pay them to do it? Are they willing to do it? Will they just tell us yes? We talk about that all the time. You have an employee and you go, hey, I got this idea. Do you want to run it? Well, are they going to say no? No. They're going to say, boss asked me to go run this.
Right.
We still got to be able to look
There's still
past
the question
that.
of whether they're the right person for that also. Which
Yep.
brings me to another thing. This is kind of rapid fire now, Este. I'm going to put your old man on the spot here. Okay. All right. So I asked you about what you see. All right. And if he ever said, hey, you've been here for 5 years, what thing should I be doing that I am not? Because my wife will say she's learned a lot from watching me, and she's very respectful and proud of what we've accomplished, but she also will say, you're not doing this, or you need to do that.
Oh, gosh. I honestly, you are putting me on the spot a little, but I can't really come up with anything.
Think about it, and we'll come back.
All right, I
to
will.
All right.
I can answer it for her, but yeah.
What do you think the one thing that you should be doing is that you're not doing?
Yeah, I think that after about 42 years of trying to convince somebody maybe to buy something and they're not really certain that they want to do it or pull the trigger, after 42 years of it, you kind of get to where I'm tired of that. I'm still good at it, and I should go do it more. So that's the one thing that I need to get out more and have these kind of conversations.
You think you should be more of a salesperson because you've gotten to where, like all of us that have been selling, we think our whole life, we were like, I don't really care if you buy this or not.
Exactly.
I don't really care.
Yeah. We are definitely to there. So.
Well, he always says he's tired of selling something to somebody that they don't really want, right? So it's always been that conversation. Now, this is a whole different business. They just don't know that they want it
Sure,
yet.
and they also need it because we know, obviously you wouldn't be successful in expanding your employee base and doing all the things you're doing if it wasn't something that there was a need for in the marketplace. It's not like we're not bamboozling people for,
No, definitely not.
Invisible gamma rays or something. So, all right, rapid fire. Watching your parents, I can look back at being out there on that farm, and I can tell you that my parents were very hard-working, employee-minded people, not smart-working, business owner-minded people. And it's not a knock on them; it's an observation. Anybody that's been in business for themselves probably can do that. When you look back at what you learned from watching your old man run his business, what'd you learn?
Yeah, I think it was the slow process for me because I agreed with the idea, but it was the debt issue. Dad had zero debt in his life. He never paid anything but cash for anything he ever did.
And you think that's good, or you think that's a misuse of capital?
I think at that particular time, because of his skill set, it was probably a misuse. Yeah, but it was he was comfortable and he was happy doing that. But
which is good. It probably helped him sleep at night.
Yep.
My parents were a similar situation, and had we maybe done things different financially, there is smart use of debt, obviously, to build upon an empire, or even create an empire by building on an asset. All right, so I've asked you a lot of questions. I was going to ask you about reading because you were going to tout my book since you've read my book.
Actually, and I will say this, and it's not just because of a plug on your book, but I love the way the book was written. I love the way it was also laid out. From we're always looking. You read a book and you're thinking, "Where's the magic? Where's the magic?" Like first how to do it book. There's something magical out there, right? And so you kind of laid out the fact there isn't any magic in this. It's just this is the simple steps that you need to kind of view. So I love the book. Yeah.
One of the other things here on your running your own business, you're a numbers guy. Does that mean that you set out and say we're going to have a goal for this much revenue by this month, next year, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, it's probably not to that point where we look at that type of a goal, because we look more at the things that need to happen to achieve the goal.
So then it's more about
we back into
sales, product, et cetera.
Yeah, we back into it.
Mine are usually about revenue and then other things with that, but I understand. Formal business plan. I don't have one, but also I'm a little different. There are needs for them, but I always say you need a formal business plan to borrow money. Do you need a formal business plan to make money? Do you have one?
No.
Have you ever had one?
No.
When you started out, did you put a mission statement up on the wall? Because companies like to do that.
No, I don't think we have any. There might be something in somebody's office here.
When
but we
Este's
do
in
not,
charge, is there
no.
going to be a mission statement written in here so it makes everybody happy, happy, rah, rah?
Probably not.
But there is a mission every day at Underwriters Alliance, right?
Yeah, there definitely is.
And the mission is to grow the business, probably.
Actually, I'll answer that. Oh, yeah. So our mission is to deliver on what we say we're going to deliver and never budge from that. So
if you do that, a lot of businesses don't. It's really that simple sometimes. You hired me to do X and I delivered.
Yep. And you know, we talk about all our relationships. You'll have trouble finding somebody that says they didn't do what they said they would do. And that's our goal. So
all right. I'm going to let her off the hook because she probably didn't come up with an answer on that other question that I asked her about. So here's the last question. 5 years in, what's the perspective? Give me some thought, piece of advice, tip, observation that a young professional woman has observed about working for a small business. Because a lot of these listeners are saying, hey, man, I wish I had a 28-year-old that was working for me that was enthusiastic about growth and ownership, et cetera. What would you say?
Honestly, I would say not in regards to the hiring this person, right? But no. I would say what I've done, I guess, is I've made sure that I'm willing to learn from those that are around me. So I'm constantly wanting to do better. I never think that I know better.
For the person that's Kyle's age that runs the company that has a 27 or 8-year-old working for them, is that something that they need to make sure that they're doing, saying we're going to give you continual opportunities to improve upon your own personal capital?
I think giving them a little bit of creative leeway is good. Kind of figuring out how they work best and to get the most out of them. Maybe some people work best from, 9 to 5. Maybe some are better, at night being creative. I think it's just learning, the personality of the person would be my token advice, I guess.
We're about to wrap up here. Dear listener, by the way, the sponsor for the show is Damian Mason, reminding you that if you have a meeting, because by God, we're done with this whole COVID thing, you want to have a meeting, your company, your association, the association you belong to wants to have a meeting, and so do you. You want to go, because business happens a lot over Zoom calls, and business can be a lot of different ways. But let's face it, sometimes you just got to get drunk at the Hotel Marriott bar and talk about business. So if you're having a conference and you'd like to have a speaker that can talk about business or agriculture, reinvention, and any of my favorite subjects, give me a call. Look at DamianMason.com and go to my YouTube channel. You can watch all of my videos, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, almost thousands of videos on there. Okay, Kyle Stoffel, if I gave you 4 more hours per week, I plucked them out of the sky, I gave them to you. What do you do with those 4 hours?
Yeah, I think I'd spend those 4 hours probably trying to get in front of more prospects.
Because you already golf enough.
Yeah.
You don't need 4 more hours of golf. You don't need 4 more hours.
I already have those hours blocked off. So
that's good. And at age 62, you should have. All right. Last bit of advice, tip, observation that you would give anybody besides the one that you gave, which is brilliant, you wish you'd have started sooner. Anything else you got out of all your experience?
I think, as we were chatting through, and I'd like to say that one strength is I really don't want to control anything. I want the people that we have to control their deals. So I have no control freak in me, and I think that's a benefit. I think, we talk about, I don't need to change anything that you're doing because we can fix any mistake. But if you lie, cheat, or steal, it's hard to fix that one. You know, but if it's not that, we can fix the mistake. So we give a lot of leeway to our staff, and I think that's a strength.
I think that is a great piece of advice right there. It's hard when you've built it and you've created it not to then just want to hold it like you've got a grip on that sucker, like I'm not going to let this go. And too much control, too much sort of tyrannical, I'm going to make sure that I manipulate and control this. So I think that's probably a pretty good piece of advice. Okay. Her name's Este Heidi. Former Uslan Stoffel. His name's Kyle Stoffel. It's Underwriters Alliance of Indiana. If you actually want to learn more about their business, they can go to
UAII.net.
UAII.net. You can, if you're in the insurance business, I'm sure they can help you out. Or if you just want to learn something from these brilliant insurance entrepreneurs.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right. He's Kyle. She's Este. Till next time, it's the Do Business Better podcast. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Damian.